Hi, I'm Kayla Cobb with TheWrap. I'm the senior TV reporter, and we're going to be talking to three amazing showrunners about the WGA, the strike that's ongoing, and the fine line between showrunning and producing in this complicated age. I am joined by Ali Schouten-Seeks from iCarly, Ilana Peña, Friend Diary of a Future President, and Gloria Calderón Kellett from With Love. Thank you all so much. Let's just kind of dive right into it. What has been your experience so far with the WGA strike?
It's been positive. I think this has been, we were just talking before we started that Ali and I had experienced the last one, right? Ali, you were there?
No, I wasn't in the last one. I was not.
You weren't there, but you heard.
Wasn't there. No, I didn't know your experience.
Hell, I was pregnant during the last strike. So I was walking while very pregnant. I'm a small woman as well. So people would be like, oh, dear God. And I'm like, I'm fine. Everyone relax. Had a lot of steps in, was a very healthy pregnant lady because I walked so much. This feels different. This feels, we're so much more prepared. We're so much more ready for the long haul. The keeping spirits up and having a lot of camaraderie with one another. It's you can feel the purpose, and everyone feels like this is a really important fight for the future of our industry and storytelling in this way. And it feels it's very upbeat out there, I would say.
Yeah, I'd also add that it doesn't just feel like our fight, and and that's what I've heard sort of about the difference. One of the differences between now and 2007 is 2007 it was very much the writers' fight, and now it's AI and corporate greed and all of these issues are so existential, and they don't just affect us. And we are sort of representative of all these unions, some of whom might strike with us, some of whom are already standing with us, the Teamsters, IATSE.
Yeah.
So that feels really special, and it feels like really like we're part of a union town and we have that support. So that's been meaningful.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything. A lot of it wasn't going to add, so I mean, they covered it so well.
Gloria, you touched on something that I was really curious about. You were there during the 2007 writer's strike. Now you're in a position of power. Is there anything that during the 2007 strike you wish that showrunners did that you're currently implementing or trying to do?
Gosh, that's a great question. I think we were all just trying to figure it out in 2007. I think that there was this new media. What's this? Like that's really what that fight was about, which ended up being a pretty important fight because everything I did since then has really been this streaming. So yeah. I didn't realize that the fight that we were in then was going to affect my career so much. I was very supported by my showrunners during that show. I was on How I Met Your Mother. The guys were great, and we were all just doing our best trying to figure out what the next steps were and how to protect writers. We were out there with last time we were out there with people who were like writers from like Dick Van Dyke and I Love Lucy, like people who were like in wheelchairs out there going, nobody fought for us. We fought so that you guys could have residuals, so that you guys could have things that for me as a journeyman writer, I mean, it was 15 years before I got my own show. I'm really, I'm old school. And then I came up the old fashioned way. And the residuals are for many years what got me through paying bills and keeping my health insurance during some slimmer years. And those are gone for mid-level and lower level writers now. So I feel very much like we're not, I mean, there are a lot of showrunners that are being asked to go above and beyond in terms of work. I know so many showrunners who they've been kept on for so long that they're basically getting paid what a staff writer got paid. But we are mostly fighting for lower level and mid-level writers who can no longer make a living as a writer in this industry. And so we're really out there for them. And I think, a lot of people think that the median income, I was looking this up yesterday because I was like, I want to talk more about the median income of writers. And, it's something like $65,000. It's if you average it out, yes, there are people making tons and tons and tons of money. And then there's people that are making zero. and everywhere in between. And so we are really talking about a union that is supporting storytellers and is supporting the future of this industry and how it's run. And we are getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. I mean, I can go on. The ladies, I'm sure, have much more interesting things to say. But the squeezing, I mean, we still had 22 episodes back then when I was striking the first time. And then it became 13 and then 22. Oh my gosh, what a dream, Ali. What a dream. Like it's you know, my last show we did six episodes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've done mostly streaming, so similar. And I've done a lot of low budget streaming, and there's just no minimum in that, so you can work and still not make your health insurance. I mean, I think you bring up a really good point about the strike being about these lower and mid-level writers. I know that there's been some publicity about the scary letters that showrunners have been getting, and I think that's certainly true. And we had a really rousing showrunner meeting at the WGA on a Saturday morning. It was really inspiring because I think some people are in really, really tough spots. And I think that allowed them to see that their peers were saying, I had to stand up for this in 2007 and it was fine. I didn't get blacklisted. I was, I have a career. In my experience, I've been lucky. We were finished with iCarly season 3 when the strike started. I had to really push for the writers I've been supervising, for these pre-WGA or very new WGA writers, who was just assumed like, oh, you guys won't really feel like these strike rules will apply to you. Like, don't worry about it. You can like slip us drafts. We won't get you in trouble. We won't. And so I had to be like, no. We turned something in at 11:30 at night, the night before the strike. Like, they're not doing it. And like, had to kind of stand up for them, because those are the writers that I think are in the most vulnerable position, where it's like, if I don't do this, this project could go away. Yeah. And this is my one thing that's, going to keep my family fed this year. And when the strike ends, I need to, people are wink, wink, nudge, nudge, expecting pages, and so I think that's really hard on top of everything the showrunners are facing, not to discount that. But I do think it continues to be about the most vulnerable writers.
Yeah, and the writers who are taking hits so that they can protect their futures and the futures of others. That includes like my assistant, and assistants on shows. And I know somebody who's been an assistant on a show for like 5 seasons. She just got staffed on the 6th season. She doesn't have a job right now. Like these people who are about to get their shots, and but they're with us and they're on the picket line and they're fighting for us because they know that this fight is going to ultimately save them and the industry. I'll also say, because this is a panel for showrunners, I do think it's mutually beneficial. Obviously, I think the writers who are coming up and the more vulnerable writers are the ones we're doing this for. But being a showrunner and the having writers on set thing isn't just helpful for the writers on set. It's so helpful for the showrunners that they are on set with. And I had to ask specifically, because I had a co-showrunner who said, this is what you need. This is what you need. You need writers to stay with you, because it was streaming on Diary. And I had to ask, can I have 2 writers that I can hire specifically for production? I would have been lost without them. You're writing during production. You're writing in after table reads. Yeah, you're writing on set. You're rewriting. You're changing things. And when the showrunners are squeezed, that's also because they don't have the help. And when they don't have the help, those writers aren't getting the experience. And it's really just kind of like a snake eats tail, and everybody is suffering and the shows are suffering.
Yeah, you're squeezed and squeezed. I mean, when I was coming up, writers' rooms were 15 people, 18 people.
Yeah.
Maybe 12. That would be a smaller room. My room was 5 people for my show, because it's a shorter order show. And I understand that, but what that means is I would be so curious to see a breakdown. I was saying, like, the thing that's great about times like these is we can ask people for breakdowns of stuff. I'd be so curious. There are more shows, but less jobs, because those shows are not each employing 15 to 20 writers anymore. So even though there's more shows, I feel like it feels like less writers are working. It feels like that.
Yeah.
And certainly for shorter periods of time. The 6-episode order is a 20-week room, and then we're done. And then the writers go. And I fought and Amazon allowed the writer of each episode to come on set and produce their episode. But I had to find that money in my budget. You know, I had to cut songs or cut sets or, you know, figure it out. They allowed me to do so, and I'm grateful. But I had to find the money to cut other stuff.
And now they want to turn that into an unpaid internship for one person. Right. That's the craziest.
It's also short-sighted because what you want is people who know how to do this job. This job is a specific job. It's a manager of people as well as creative. And, you know, they want people who know how to do this job well so that they can stay on budget. You read all the time in the trades about people who are going madly over budget. And if you learn how to do it, you won't go over budget because you know how to do the job if you're figuring it out on the fly. A lot of times with executives who don't understand production, I'm having to explain constantly to the well, just do this and this. And it's like, that all costs money. Are you going to increase the budget so I can do that? Oh, you can't just like shoot that on the no, that's not how this works. You know, like, so I definitely that's where I feel my age. I feel my age because I'm like, oh, I've been around a long time. I know how this works. So I can educate like, no, this is how this works and this is how much time this takes and this is what this is. So having writers be on set to see how you communicate with department heads, I also feel like the system has changed. The city has changed in positive ways since I started. I've seen people be yelled at for dumb this is where it's Hollywood. You know what I mean? There's no Hollywood emergency. I'm sorry, there's not. There's no Hollywood emergency. Nobody's like, I'm not sending a PA out at 2 a.m. to find a flaming sword. It's not happening, not on my watch. Because I had to do it. Right. I had to be the person that was called and like, you better be fun. Nothing's open. They can play something. What? Never. I'll never put somebody in that situation. So like there is a benefit to coming up the ladder and learning and being around and seeing how things are done and going, oh, I'm never going to do that. Oh, that's really effective. Oh, when I'm in the seat, I know how I'm going to treat people, how I'm going to try to be a leader, how I'm going to try to, and it makes a huge difference.
It makes all the difference. I feel like I got in on the very last because I was a writer on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which shot in LA, you know, and I was able, and we had such, you know, giving showrunners. I produced like 3 episodes in my time there, and they were a short order, I think was like 13, which is long now. And I think we had 13 the first couple seasons I was there, and then like 17 my 3rd season. So I got to 3 episodes. I got to produce. I got to learn. I got to sit in post. I got to be in all the meetings. As a staff writer, I got to be in concept, production, tone. And then I got my own show, which is a benefit of there being more shows and there being more platforms. And it was Disney Plus, and I was part of the launch of that. And I would have been set up to fail. I would have been completely out to sea. I would not have been taken seriously. I would not have been respected. I knew also because I'd been a showrunner's assistant. So I'd watched a showrunner. I had so many things that, you know, are not unpaid internships, but being a writer on set and being able to see and learn and do, I got my own show. I was so lucky it went for 2 seasons. I was so lucky I got the opportunity to run it. It would have been a disaster if I hadn't had that experience. And that is happening. And then these shows fail, and these writers, specifically a lot of times writers that hadn't had the opportunity before, you know, like was a young Latina showrunner with her first shot. Thank God I wasn't set up to fail, but so many are. And that's a problem. We can't be like celebrating the diversity of this industry and then not giving people the resources to thrive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then there's like a thing where when these shows do fail from lack of support, it does seem like the showrunners and writers get blamed publicly more so than the I'm thinking of all the weird hostility around Amazon's A League of Their Own and that renewal and everything. A lot of yelling at the showrunner who does not have any control over that pickup. Yeah.
And is a lovely man who made a beautiful show.
Yeah.
About all the fantastic show.
Lovely, talented man who made a beautiful show.
Well, because I think also as like we get, you know, with Twitter and social media, and we're learning who these writers and creators are, and we're getting excited and we're meeting the writers. But so the public, you know, is like, oh, look, we know who created the show. And then that's where they direct their admiration and their ire toward. But they don't, and hopefully this strike is illuminating some of that. Like, we're not out there I posted a photo from the strike, from the picket line. My show's been canceled for like 2 years, and I'm getting comments, when could we have a season 3 of Diary? And I'm like,
I know.
guys, I wish. Like, they don't know that wasn't my call.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Like, Ilana's just been really busy, so that's why.
Yeah, it's coming.
I know. Believe me. I same. I get Melanie be like, Gloria, please, will you do it now? I'm like, all I want to do is another season of What Was Time. All I want to do. Call me until the day I die. My last words will be, I love you, children and husband. And one day at a time should never have been canceled. That will be how I die. I don't know how anybody wants to pay for it, but I think that instructing the audience, talking to the audience, which I think many of us are on the socials, trying to explain this crazy business that we are in and shine a light behind the curtain of how this works and the disparity. I mean, I think Ilana really touched on something, which is, when they're joking about unpaid internships, like, we already have such barriers of entry for disenfranchised communities to get stories told. So when somebody does break through, it is devastating to not see those shows supported, because I know how hard, we know, all of us know how hard it is to get stuff made.
Yeah.
And, I think that in this moment, the fight feels like the fight of our lives, because it feels like it is.
Yeah.
No.
That makes a lot of sense. Is there can you foresee a universe where streamers specifically kind of develop a better system to like support these writers, these kind of newer writers who might come from like different backgrounds?
Yeah, I think that, first of all, they don't want to share their data with us, which tells me that even more people than we think are watching these shows. Otherwise, they'd say, look, no one's watching. We can't pay you. It would be a very quick conversation. So, I mean, I'm no math major, but it does feel like, it does feel like a very obvious thing there. And so, the residuals, first of all, are so important, because that keeps you afloat between jobs. But I think it's pretty easy. I was really lucky in that I had, although we didn't have a live audience, a pretty traditional multicam show that I was running. And so we're rewriting all week as a result of that. And so you're shooting as you're writing. And that's just the way that multicam works, because so much is like, that joke didn't work, let's rewrite it on the fly. So you need people on set. I mean, even during COVID, I got to have a few people on set. Of course, some of them were watching a quad from their home, but still, like, we made it work so that we had people on set. But beyond that, I had an open invitation for people to sit in. I had never been in a sound mix before I was a showrunner. So I told people, get up early, come to the sound mix. Let me know whenever you want to do that, or just get the link from my assistant, and that went for the support staff as well. People produced their own episode all the way through editing. They watched casting videos. Like, once that structure is there, it's very easy to just have an open door. And for showrunners to kind of do the rest for these streamers, like, given that I had that structure, it was really easy to have people involved and to teach people and say, like, this is how I like to do things on other shows. It might be like this or this. I've seen this work as well. And and then, of course, they're also absorbing, as Gloria mentioned, everything that's happening. And Ilana mentioned as well, like, getting to see that process. And especially now that we're back to in person, it's really possible. It's not that hard if we can just have this proven structure that we know works for writers' rooms where writers continue through production. Like, we know that works. We know it makes good TV.
And it makes the show better.
Yeah. It makes the show better. Yeah.
100%.
There's documented evidence now that women in this position are doing the Gloria Calderón Kellett diversity program, wherein I hire amazing, talented people who have been here, who are out there. There's a lot of talented people out there. And on day one, like Ali said, I do hey, if you want to know how to do this, you can be at anything. Yeah. You want to be on editing, you want to look at casting tape, you want anything you want access to, you can have access to. I'll teach you how to do this job. Yeah. And people take you up on it. And now, since One Day at a Time started, this is 7 years later. I got people that were their first job who are EPs, showrunners. Like, it works. Like we've seen it work. We have built this thing and we have seen it work with people who are more than capable and just needed an opportunity and needed to see somebody who was open enough to allow them behind the curtain and show them this shouldn't be privileged information, how to tell this type of story in a way that is kind and respectful of other people. We are working with a bunch of artists, which is why I'm so grateful to see so many of them on the picket line. Like we cannot do this job without crews. Our crews are the lifeblood of this industry. We cannot do this without the laborers and the teamsters and the people that like make it. We write interior restaurant day. They build a restaurant. Like it's none of it is lost on me how unbelievable it is and what a collaborative job storytelling is. And so making sure that there's somebody to guide, somebody at the helm saying like, let's all be cool and like, let's have a good time doing this and let's be respectful and talk to each other and communicate and make this thing together. It reminds you of those days when you were in high school and you're like, let's put on a show.
Yeah.
And, you know, it can kind of feed that initial, you know, reason why all of us probably got into storytelling in the first place.
And that's like that spark and that joy is why shows are good. And showrunners spend so much energy and time trying to find in the budget to build that spark and joy. Like, and I was reading the Yellow Jackets that showrunners or creators, I think, had paid out of pocket to fly writers to set or said, like, you can come if you, like, it shouldn't be on us. And we do it because we love it. And I'm the same way. I'm like, literally come to anything. I want, you know, there's people who started out as writers PAs who I now supervise and they've sold shows. And that's because they were able to like watch and learn. But it also like the system should be in place for that to grow. And I know Ali and Gloria are the same way. So much time and energy trying to convince the studios, I promise this will be good. I promise this is a good investment. Getting these people on set, having these people be there through the end, hiring this writer that maybe like you didn't want to take a chance on, et cetera, et cetera. We're always right. So the system, and it just wastes our energy. It just wastes our energy when we could be like out there making magic. So if the system was in place, imagine the more magic we do.
Nobody's going to work harder for you than somebody who you give their first opportunity to. I know the prepositions were a mess in that, but the sentiment, it's true. Like no one will put in more than you know someone that you've taken a chance on. You're just always going to get an investment. I think it's also nobody. There are crews that were like, look, we need to pay our bills and try to get a 22 episode thing, but if it's you, we'll come and do 6. Like. Because I don't yell at anybody. I give them pages early. You know, there's ways to do. We need to respect every single person that's on that set. And we need to teach people to do that because some people don't know. Because some people, I mean, I worked with people who didn't know the names of anybody on the set. You know, that's not how to do this job. So we have an opportunity to also really teach people how to do this in a kind and equitable manner wherein we care for one another and we care for the people that help us make this work. And we're seeing their love, you know, on the picket line, and they deserve that love year round.
Yes, 1000%.
So we've discussed some of the bigger, thornier issues of the WGA strike, from the value and necessity of residuals, to why there needs to be a better system for younger writers. I also want to talk about one of the kind of scariest parts of the WGA strike, AI. What are your thoughts on AI and kind of how during negotiations, any conversation around that was kind of shut down pretty quickly?
Well, it's funny because when I first started going to these WGA like informational meetings, because we had a bunch leading up, like, should we vote for a strike and all that, people would ask about AI. And I would kind of be like, okay, like these like sci-fi nerds, like, let's focus on the real problem. Like I was like kind of giggling to myself. And then
you're such a jock. You're always like picking on the
like these nerds. Meanwhile, I'm like devastated I can't make the Newsies picket. Devastated. But
I get it.
I just was kind of like, this feels science fiction. Like, this feels silly. This feels like not the fight right now. Like, let's focus on these mini rooms. Let's focus on these residuals, all that. But guys, it's really scary. It's so scary.
I love that you're just finding out it's scary. It's my favorite thing.
Well, no, I've known for a little bit. But
in real time, she just got a text.
Yeah, in real time, she's putting the pieces together going, wait a minute.
A bot right
There's
now
a sign on the Newsies
is about to kill me. But no, I just feel like as I learned more about it, I was like, wait a second. This is maybe like the most existential and the scariest because it represents everything. It represents how they think they think we are dispensable. They think we're disposable. They think we're just machines. They don't think of us as artists. And it's horrible and I'm terrified. Fun, optimistic POV. Anyone else?
I mean, look, I think we're so I'm so grateful that Jeffrey Hinton, who was he was the head of AI at Google, that he stepped down and said, like, this is dangerous, guys.
He was like,
should pay attention to this.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's very helpful that he did that as we are talking about this. So that we can say, because I don't know if you guys have played with it at all. I have played with it. And it is, there's a couple of issues that I have with it. The first one is, are the writers of the scripts that have been put into the AI for it to learn from, have they been compensated in some way? Because AI can learn based on what it has been fed.
Yes.
So there has to be, like, if you're using an AI that has every episode of Frasier, are the Frasier writers getting money for that?
Right.
Because it is now going to be spitting out scripts that have that type of writing in it. And there should be some form of compensation, right? So there's that. Then it becomes an issue of humanity and what it can and cannot do. And then it also becomes an issue of it can only write what it has been fed. So for all of the white writers who have said to me, you guys are stealing our jobs, AI is stealing your job, because guess what it can't write? I said, please write me a scene where a brujo is talking to a bruja about coming over from Cuba and Santeria. Can't write that scene. I can. Right? It can write dominant culture scenes. Right. It can write, the dad walks in and tells his son about the birds and the bees. It can write a crappy version of that scene that has no soul, but has all the beats. Right? So, like, dominant culture writers need to be concerned about AI much more than, you think it has a lot of stories about women in AI? Not much. We're going to be fine.
I mean, I think
we're going to be fine in this moment until more exists that can be popped into there. So there's a lot of reasons why it's. I think it's just an issue of humanity and about making sure that there's nuance, making sure. One of my favorite picket signs is, AI doesn't have my childhood trauma, which is right? Like there's humanity and nuance that it will never have. And can it be a useful tool to write a log line, to write promos for something? Like, sure, I understand that with new technology, we can't just go no to the new technology because we've seen how that's gone. Technology is going to move things forward, whether we like it or not. It's about regulating it. It's about regulating it so that it's not dangerous, and regulating it so that there is still humanity. And the fact that they won't talk about it at all is a great concern.
Yeah. I mean, robots are canonically white men. We know that. I mean, AI is terrifying, and 100%. If we want to have scripts that reflect our world and can move us into the future, they can only actually be written by humans. It really, that's, and when they're talking about using AI, they're still talking about having a human rewriting AI because what you're getting is anything from, like you said, the boring beats of it to nothing. That it can't even, I shouldn't even say they, it can't even do it at all. Oh gosh, it's got me. I think it's really upsetting that this has not just been a really obvious issue, because even if it's so short-sighted too. I mean, these execs, like, it's easier to give notes if you're a robot than write a scene. Like,
that's what I was about to say.
That is the thing. You know who else needs to be real worried?
Yeah,
those execs. That I'm like, hey, have you read the script? Have you got me notes yet? You know what you could teach an AI to do is give notes.
Yeah, because
so easily.
Much more so than write a scene. I mean, execs are on the chopping block before writers are.
Absolutely.
Execs and business affairs and, you know, like writing a lease, writing a contract. It is so, honestly, probably writing a scene, writing scripts is like among the hardest things it can do. There are easier things, you know, AI, HR, AI, like these entire corporate cultures could be replaced by these bots. And the fact that they won't talk about it with us, which is the most obvious one, is like, it's very short-sighted. It's going to hurt them more. And yeah, what Gloria was saying, I mean, AI, because it's everything that has been ever written and made, we're just starting to turn the tide. So a lot of it is racist. A lot of it is sexist. A lot of it is homophobic. So the things that it spits out are those things too. And so we're going backwards. We're literally going backwards.
Yeah.
Have any of you played with AI by chance? I've talked to a couple of showrunners that have, just to, you know, get a better idea of what the threat is.
I typed in the information for one day at a time and said, give me a log line for this show. And it gave me a great log line. Oh, I'll play it. Then I asked it to write the Brujo scene, and it wasn't able to do that.
Yeah.
So that was a real example.
I went from, this is a really good log line to, I'm fine.
I think it could be really good. You know what? I actually think, just like thinking of what showrunners have to do, we have to write like summaries of our shows for awards.
Right.
And stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of stuff. Like, I'm happy to have a computer do a first draft. It's something that like I did as an assistant, and it was nice to learn because now I had to do it as a showrunner.
I did that as an assistant, and then you know who just does it on iCarly? The studio.
Really?
So
yeah, but it's like
they're really good
because
these are great. Yeah,
because the AI is coming for the studio jobs. But I think like that's fine because our time can be spent, you know, making our show.
I don't need to write the summary. Right.
That's
exactly
fine.
Sure.
But yeah, it's not gonna like capture life. It's not gonna capture nuance. I mean, every single movie that I haven't said this thought out loud, so if it doesn't make sense, I'm sorry. But the fact to say that AI is like the future basically says like we're done creating, we're done with new ideas, we're done with innovation. Like we just want a version of Pulp Fiction. We just want a version of Devil Wears Prada. We don't want the new thing. We don't want the next thing. And that to me is like the death of art. Like that. Could you imagine if they'd said that at like the Renaissance? If they were like, we're done.
What, Ilana, though, that is, I think that is a great point because I do think in this moment, it is the death of all those things.
Yeah.
Right? In this moment, it is, let's bring out a show from 15 years ago and bring that cast. But like, listen, and I did a reboot, but my reboot was a completely different version, right?
Yes.
And not to say that like, throw us yours. Ali, I love
yours.
Yours is different.
Yours is different.
It's different. It can't just be those. It can't just be those. And I do feel like we are in a moment where they just want carbon copies of things. So for them in this moment, you're right. They're being very short-sighted. They're not realizing that every few years something hits, or every year something hits. And then they're like, we want 50 Squid Games. It's like, Squid Games didn't know Squid Game, guys. Like, you know, you need to take some swings every once in a while as well. Creativity cannot be, and it's also of the moment. What is the moment saying, and why does the fear hit in the moment? I think nostalgia is big, and I think that you still need to move it forward and make it feel modern in order for it to be
I'm writing the reboot of Working Girl, so I have no reboots, but I'm writing it. You know, Selena Gomez is producing. I'm exploring ideas of like diversity in the workplace that the one in the 80s was revolutionary for its time, but didn't do because it was an all-white cast and like that kind of stuff. You know, I think a bot could probably write a pretty good version of Working Girl, but could they write it with like the nuances and intersectionality?
I don't know if it could. And then it definitely couldn't do what you're doing.
No, it couldn't. I don't actually think that the stuff I've read is like that good, which makes me feel, I mean, the log lines are good, but the creative stuff is not. but yeah, the intersectionality and the nuance and I'm pulling from things that I've experienced, and that is why they wanted me to write it. You know what I mean? Like, and that is special. And when you look at projects like that, when you look at every big movement, it's because somebody who, you know, had a story to tell told a story. It's so obvious.
Right.
Now, you all are working on streaming shows. So what do you think is the biggest issue of the WGA strike as it relates to streaming?
All of them. I mean, it's not all. Here's we've got these short rooms with fewer people, so people aren't working, and then they've got, you know, I've had a couple 10-month stretches. My career's been of unemployment, and my career's been primarily in streaming because of these shorter orders and everything. But then you have lower streaming residuals that don't take you through those periods of unemployment. So then I have to get another job. So I can't work on development. So I have to, you know, it all just snowballs. There's no one way to like separate. Like, if we could just get many rooms out, then we'd be fine. Like, it's all of it.
It's also like, you know, I did a panel recently with a bunch of heads of networks before the strike, and all of them were talking about how much better it was before. You know, like they all of them. I mean, it's the TV Academy. You can look it up. All of them were like, "Oh no, this is not working. Nobody's making money, and it's terrible, and it's not. We have to go back to some version of it." Like, there is an awareness that like this is not sustainable. This way of working is not really sustainable and doesn't really make anybody the money that it used to. And so I think that we just need to look at it. We also, I think that, you know, like the old way was there was a system in place that you could bitch about it, but you knew what it was, which was, you know, January pilots are getting shots that they picked up. You wait until, you know, March, April, May, and May the announcements are made of these are the fall shows. You've already gone on 1 million meetings as a writer, and then you're going to get hopefully one of those gigs, and it's going to start in mid-June. And then your first episode's going to air in September, and that's what you're doing until December. And then, oh, did you get the back 9? Oh, we did get the back 9. Then we're shooting until March, April, and then you have a few months off and you go through the whole process again, right? Like, that's what it used to be. And so there was also a consistency of, well, you can plan for, if I don't get something in January, then I got to try to up my development, or I've got to, there were these windows. Now it's so Wild West that even if you have a show that's on, like With Love season 1 came out December of 2021, and season 2 is coming out June of 2023. That's 18 months later for 6 episodes. So it's like the audience doesn't. So we don't. The audience is like, wait, was that a limited? Nobody knows what's happening with what. Some things come out all in a bunch. Some things come out once a week. I will say that now I've been so screwed by watching binging that even if I liked a show, I forget that it comes out weekly. So I'm like, oh my God, I forgot about, the Big Door Prize. I liked that. What? How many episodes? Oh, there's 2 new. Great. Like, it's so disjointed that we don't know as viewers how to watch it. We don't know where things live. We have to ask our, like, hey, what's this show? Silo. Like, I don't, start hearing about it. Oh, there's only 2. I missed that. It's confusing. Everyone is confused. And I think that we just need to, and then we've all been, I hate that I love binging now. I hate it. I'll watch one, I'll just bang through the whole thing while I'm doing laundry or while I'm cleaning or while I'm just knock it out. And there's a different way that I watch Succession, for sure, than I watch everything else, because there's a consistency in HBO and it comes out every week, and I've known that always. And same with stuff that's on network.
Yeah.
So this is a moment of reckoning for the whole industry of like, how do we continue to do this in a way that makes sense for all parties involved, and how do we do it in a way that, there are people here that make it happen, and can we make it lovely for them?
Yeah. And can they like live and know where their next paycheck is coming from? And this gig economy for these writers it's making it like impossible. LA, and you have to live in LA or New York if you do this job. These cities are expensive. If you want to have a family, like I know people who are like thinking about having a family, and because they don't know, it's like they have to think about, okay, so like I'm not in a room right now, and then development is this, and then then this room will end, and I don't know where this paycheck is coming from, and my husband is a director, and he has no idea. Like it's everybody, and it's like it's going to have such a ripple effect, and it stops writers from having like fulfilling normal lives. So it's like it's everyone from the people creating the thing to the people consuming the thing.
No, it's huge. How long do you foresee the strike lasting? I know that's a loaded question that nobody has the answer to.
Nobody knows.
Nobody
knows. We don't know.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. Anyone who says they know does not know.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And maybe this is just really good WGA propaganda, is that like we would go back to the negotiating table right now, and that like
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not just okay.
Oh no, they would love very much. I mean, there just has to be movement. Like they have to be willing to have conversation, and very reasonable asks.
Every single time I talk to my mom, and I talk to my mom every day, multiple times a day, she goes, "Is there any movement?" Every time. Because she's like, she can't understand why the studio, like she's like, I don't understand. Like, okay, so you guys are on strike and they're losing money, like any movement? Like she'll say it again when I call her after this, like and I have to be like, Mom, like it's on them. Like, so it's a very simple thing. And for some reason they're, this could drag out for a while, but we'll do as long as it takes.
People are ready.
From your end of things, do you get a sense that SAG and the Directors Guild might like partner with the WGA? Or I know that's another question that no one knows the answer to until it's time.
Wow.
Awesome. I think we would all really
I think it'd be great. I think it'd be very powerful solidarity, but I'm a member of all three guilds and I have no idea.
I'm in the DGA too. I don't know. I think it's nice that they are like on people come to the picket line with us. And it'd be nice to see that in like a real concrete effects of that, but we don't know. And that we didn't know what would happen with the strike until it happened. Like they don't know, you don't know until you know. It's a fun time.
It certainly is. I do have one quick question if you have the time. Have you seen the media report on the WGA strike that feels like what mistakes is the media making, basically?
Well, that's interesting.
Well, the New York Times posted a picture of me with my sign and they didn't credit me. So
on that.
So that's a mistake.
It looks very cute.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Getty Images got credit and I didn't.
Now.
I thought that was a picture of Getty Images. Sorry,
coming together. What did I think I'd go back to what Ilana said earlier, which is this is not just about the WGA. This is about the livelihood of so many people in the industry. So for me, I would love to see coverage on all the people that are coming out to support. I think like some of the best conversations I've had on the picket line have been with laborers, with Teamsters, with the musicians union came out the other day and they were playing, like 4 musicians came out with cellos and violins and were playing for us. Like people are very devoted, and then people driving by in trucks that are not industry but are in unions are honking and like supporting. This is a country of unions.
Yeah.
That these types of fights against corporate greed is meaningful to, I think, a lot of people, not just the WGA. And we are privileged that we are getting, people are sending taco trucks and things like that, things that other laborers, when they go on union strikes, do not get.
Yeah.
And I think there's an awareness of what our privileges are and how we can hopefully raise up these issues and empower other people in their unions to ask for fair things because we're doing it now, and hopefully in solidarity with them, they'll feel, impassioned to do so in their own lives too.
Yeah, I think to that end also just that it's not just the writers' struggle. It's like, it's cool that, we're getting the press and people are caring about us. But like, I was talking to somebody the other night, like AI is coming for truck drivers. AI is coming for, it's like not just in the industry, not just execs, not just CEOs, not just lawyers and accountants. It's coming for everybody. And I think if the media, would frame it, yes, this is the writer's struggle, but like, I think if they framed it as also continued to frame it as a global struggle, it would maybe get a little bit, more heat and put some pressure in the studios, maybe.
No, that's a really good point. Actually. Oh, yeah, please, Ali.
No, just to add on to what these two are saying, I feel like there has been a little bit of a sentiment of pitting writers against not just people in other sectors of entertainment, but in other sectors in general, as Ilana was saying. And I think teachers have been a big one that people are like, but what about the teachers? I'm like, yeah, pay the teachers more. That'd be great.
Yeah, please pay the teachers more.
I'm saying how to do that. Like,
yeah.
Weird. I've just seen like a few things and I've been asked to speak on it, and I was surprised, and I was like, oh, but that is a really, like, I'm glad that he asked me to speak on it in this interview I did, but I, because I don't think that we're at odds with the teachers and the truck drivers and, executives, even most of the executives, who are facing layoffs and facing AI and all these things, like, kind of think we're on the same side, and we're on the side of humanity and a wage, and so I just don't think we need to see any more like hitting us against other unions or other professions. And I think it's really important to correct that when it happens, that knowing our stats about median income and everything, that it's be able to speak to that is so important.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I'll actually let you go on about your day now.
Thank you, Kayla.
Thanks, Kayla. Appreciate it.
Again, appreciate you guys.